very formal. So, you know, I think in 11th grade, we were studying, commutative, like group theory, abelian groups, rings and stuff. We didn't really understand any, like, what's the point? Why are we doing this? Why do we care what a ring is, right? Um, and, so I was very good in math always, but I was sort of not that interested in it. And I was like, all right, and I thought maybe I was going to do something in astronomy or something else. And so I took a bunch of courses and I said, I'll just take one more math course in college. And I just got this really great teacher. And it was a teaching assistant actually in my first freshman year at Cornell. And he's like, well, yeah. And I had a great advisor who was this abstract algebra guy, Rosenberg. And he was like, and I was like really enjoying this math as it was taught by Americans. And then I said, well, I studied this stuff. And he goes, oh, terrible, terrible. The French system, just terrible. And he goes, you shouldn't be studying that stuff in high school. And I go, why were we? And he goes, well, it's just a mistake of the French system. He goes, but you'll see. That's so, there were some absolutely brilliant people in my group, right? And so I sort of realized, okay, I'm now, the level has gotten much better. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like you're good at violin and then you go to the Vienna Philharmonic, you know what I mean? And you realize
you're really comfortable being the best guy at something, and suddenly that's all gone. Your undergrad in industrial engineering, a lot of it was operations research. Then I moved to in the master's program. I did a lot of just continued on that.
Okay.
But a lot of math, a lot of equations, a lot of solving, and I spent a lot of time solving these linear optimization problems, simplex algorithms. And who invented it? George Dantzig.
George Dantzig, yeah. I knew George very well.
Yeah, and he was on your dissertation committee, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, not only that, like on my thesis thesis defense committee, I had Donald Knuth, who wrote The Art of Computer Programming, probably the single most important person at the time in computer science, and also Christos Papadimitriou, who was, kind of now sort of almost viewed as the father of complexity theory.
20 years ago or so, and it was a whole if-then machine.
Yeah.
So it maybe even more than that, longer than that, but and you would see that even at that time, I could think this is not going to work. If you just have to code every single possible situation and hard code the right answer to that, this isn't going to work. And I think what changed everything for the whole field was that we figured out how to have the computer itself learn what to do over time. And at some point, we don't even know what it's learning. It's just creating a whole black box that has considered all the possibilities in a system, and somehow it works. So just let the machine understand what to do.
The machine has to train itself. You can't code the machine. The coding doesn't work. But
well, and you say, let's meet tomorrow. I'm like, every day I open my Outlook client and I'm like, why the hell can't you extract this event from the email? So it's such a simple thing, but you can imagine a future where, ChatGPT is going through all of your emails, filling your calendar with everything you're planning to do.
This will happen in the next couple of years. I mean, it's not even
the coolest part.
It's not Jules Verne kind of like someday they're going to be, this is happening in the next couple of years. Like, since I got the 17-year-old, I'm very interested in I'm sort of telling him, this is kind of the way I see your life, and it's like, do you want to be a coder? No, maybe not, but you better understand how AI is going to change whatever you end up doing, right? Because you're going to need to understand how going on there, and and the ability just to distinguish the power law from technical analysis is something that if you have a math background, you immediately see it. There's like no question, right? But if you don't, you're the two look similar. There's charts, there's lines,
Line is touching the dots,
exactly.
and most people are like most people are fed useless information on social media just because they can't tell. They probably don't know basics of statistics, for example, that many things can happen just based on noise and randomness. Like a lot of people just have trouble understanding the randomness. A lot of people have trouble thinking about.
Well, I did a lot of. I've done a lot of work in online advertising, and I even posted a little thing. I don't even know where.
Example, a lot of people are are doing these regression models or even TA lines. Yeah. And they're coming up with future price predictions, right? Most people have a very linear way to think about these things, and they arrive at like 278. That's my price target. Yeah. And just talking to a lot of people, I've realized that they don't really kind of grasp the idea that these things are actually probabilities, they're distributions. So if your model gives you 288,000 per price prediction, it's actually a huge range of values.
Right.
And what you're getting there is just a median. So, or the average. So you got to think about it in likelihoods, and a wide variety of outcomes are possible. It's just the probabilities are different. So you have to have a much more nimble, much more flexible way of thinking about the possible set of outcomes. And you'd be surprised how many people would reach out to me last cycle.
Again, it's pretty simple math. Bitcoin can drop 50%. It can, and people are like, well, it can't drop 50% from here because it can only drop 50%. Well, you don't know that. It can drop 50% from anywhere, from any point. You have to have the belief that Bitcoin can drop 50%, and even if it's at the bottom of the support of some model, it can still drop 50%. It's a highly volatile thing, which can drop 50%. So if something can drop 50%, now it also tends to over time go up a lot. It is a very high performing asset, right? But it's an asset that can drop 50%. So if you are leveraged 2-to-1, there is a non-zero probability that you are going to get completely and utterly wiped out, over time. And, 2013, I wasn't big enough that it mattered. It was insignificant for me. But, and then 2022, been there, lived through the crash, right? So, I've been through all these crashes, and the learning is crashes happen. And so, do I think that there will be another crash in the next 5 years? 100%. There's going to be, we are living in a very unstable world, right? The financial world is unstable. $35 trillion in debt is 122% GDP is unstable. There's a lot of things that are unstable now with this world. So, holding Bitcoin at, and you're going to grow with me, or you're going to get nothing. I'm going to wipe you out. Your quarter is going to go to zero. So if I were you, I would just sell to me. And everybody did it. And he was right. And they actually did very well. The people who did sell to him did very well because, so, I just think you need to have dry powder. And other, and also personal things can happen to you. You can get divorced, you can get a lawsuit, you can get hit by a car, a lot of things can happen to you. So, we're just living in especially now, we're living in a very uncertain time. And I think you need to plan accordingly. So, I